This is the all-new Lincoln Aviator, and as you can see, it is a handsome-looking rig with a satisfying and unique appearance that's sure to see passers-by doing a double take. Hello, little fox. I had a lot of fun shooting this one, probably the combination of that gorgeous burgundy velvet paint and all the sculpting and accenting and finer details dialed in around and beneath it. Inside or out, this new Aviator gives you plenty of rewarding details to check out, and it gave my cameras a serious workout. So this one's a 3-row, 6 seats in the case of my tester with its 2nd-row captain's chairs. It's the second biggest Lincoln available, with only the massive Navigator above it. And like that Navigator, Aviator now also has a place in my memory banks as one of the most comfortable highway cruisers I've ever come across, and for many of the same reasons. So in this video, I'm going to focus on some of the new design and tech that Lincoln is flaunting with their latest Aviator and explain why this machine needs to be on your radar if you're after an exceptional long-distance driving companion, and I'll be recommending you drive one of its key competitors as well. So functionality and space first. In back, power tailgate, decent cargo hold behind the 3rd-row seats if you've got them flipped up, or fold them down at the press of a button for more room. In this configuration, you've got loads of space for 4 adults and their luggage or shopping or camping supplies. The middle row captain's chairs are comfortable and set occupants up for a first-class 2nd-row experience, complete with plenty of nearby charging, a rear climate control console, plenty of storage, and legroom to spare. For 4 adults, here's a road-going social lounge with plenty of room to unwind and relax. Third-row seats can physically accommodate an adult of my size, but the floor is up high and the accommodations are not as nicely finished as the 2 rows further ahead. These rear seats are best left folded down for more cargo room or flipped up for the smallest passengers you've got. But the best seats in the house are up front. In sandstone leather, these are Lincoln's fantastic 30-way adjustable perfect position seats with active motion, which is a sort of mild massage function intended to enhance comfort and blood flow on long drives. And with a click, you can fine-tune these to the exact configuration you like, even individually controlling the length of the thigh supports separately from one another. Click to heat, click to chill. You can configure these seats to be anything you want them to be, and that lays the foundation for a very comfortable drive. The driving environment works to a similar effect. Lincoln's latest interior design language makes this cabin warm and inviting from a glance, and sees materials and styling details flaunted more prominently than gadgets and displays. On sheer square footage of the gloss and wood and metal and chrome in here, well, it's safe to say the designers were given free rein to use as much lovely stuff as they could and to stitch it all together to give you this. It's modern, glamorous without being too shouty, and I love the natural materials and colors that make up most of the scenery.
And by putting the audio and climate controls on this panel down here, it means less clutter on my forward dash. And that means that more of the forward scenery is wood and leather and stitching and metal instead of buttons.
So on looks and feel and attention to detail, this Chicago-built luxury crossover stands proudly as an American take on world-class luxury, and it feels authentic and high-end throughout. There's a big screen central display. It's fast, responsive, really easy to connect with, and very logical to navigate. Just plug in, call up Spotify, and your favorite playlists are ready for the Revel stereo system, complete with 28 speakers and a fully immersive sound experience. To my ears, the Bang & Olufsen system in some Audis and the Bowers & Wilkins system used by Volvo are a bit more impressive if you're shopping around, but this Revel stereo shouldn't leave most of us wanting for more clarity or firepower. There's a massive head-up display and it looks gorgeous, and it's bright and highly informative and great to look at. That's a good thing, as the instrument cluster below it is not. It's my biggest complaint about the Aviator. To my eye, the digital instruments are too minimal, the graphics are good but not great, plenty of information is ghosted out, leaving you with a big screen that has not much going on. And even with some tweaking of the settings, I could never quite make this instrument cluster something I enjoyed looking at, and it left me wanting more color and more information. To compare, here's the digital instrumentation in a Mercedes GLE, and this one's from the BMW X5. I think you can see my point. The drive mode selector and how that interfaces with the instrument cluster is another area that I found pretty fussy. If you don't remember the specific order of the numerous drive modes that appear as you rotate the free-spinning dial, you might get a little lost within the on-screen animations and choose the wrong mode a few times before you land on the one you want. A little practice will have you sorted out quickly.
From the driver's seat, it's a tall and upright driving position. I'm up high, I feel in control, I feel like I've got a commanding view of the road ahead. And actually, I like that I can see to the edge of the hood. You can actually see the sculpting in the hood too, and that helps you visually line the Aviator up in its lane.
From the seats to the driving position to the look and layout of the cabin, what you have here is a collection of attributes that set you up nicely for a relaxing drive, right down to the soothing smell of the wood and leather that greets you every time you open the door, which you do by clicking the electronic door popper switch hidden in the handle that pops the door for you with little more effort than clicking a computer mouse button. Aviator is full of unique little touches like this that intend to surprise and delight, and if you like, you can even leave the keys at home and just use your smartphone instead. This is the plug-in hybrid, or PHEV, version of the Aviator, which is called the Aviator Grand Touring. It combines the efforts of a 3-liter twin-turbocharged gasoline V6 with a plug-in electric drive system. You plug in to charge, but only if you want to, and if it's convenient. Plugging in is never mandatory in a vehicle like this, but it does recharge the drive battery, and you can think of that as a sort of second fuel tank that's full of electricity and not gasoline.
So it's like having a fully electric vehicle for shorter trips and a full function crossover for longer ones. That's big fuel savings with nothing for the driver to do other than plug in whenever they feel the need. And the idea is that the more you plug in, the less fuel you use.
With a full charge, you're clear for about 35 kilometers of driving without using any gas. For many drivers, that means commuting and errands can be handled entirely by electric driving, though you've got a conventional gas driveline standing at the ready for longer trips.
So I've just returned home and I've been out driving around for a bit, and I've depleted that electric driving range, and so I just thought I would show you a little more detail on charging this Aviator plug-in hybrid and sort of how that works from where I'm sitting. So you can see here, time to fully charge, 3.2 hours on 240 volts, and call it overnight on 120 volts. So here's what that looks like. And that's a level 2 charger that I had installed at home. This was about $1,000 installed. Paid about $700 for the charger on a Black Friday sale, so recommend checking out Black Friday sales for these if you're interested in one. Just comes off the wall like this. Open up the little charge door, plug it in, and that's all there is to it. You lock the car up and walk away. So it's a little after 9 right now, and that's showing me I'll have 100% charge by a little after midnight. Now that's on the level 2 charger, the 240 volt, 220 volt charger. So your standard household power outlet, it does take a lot longer because it's not pushing as much power. And the way you would charge with that is using the travel charger, which just stores under here. And so it has the same connector on that end, and the other end here just goes into your standard outlet. Now you might use this if you're traveling or maybe staying somewhere where there isn't a level 2 charger available. So I'll show you the wiring setup here really quickly. There's the household fuse panel in my case, and the charger is just right here. on the other side of the wall. So it's only running a couple of feet of cable, and I think that helped to keep the install cost down to something like about 300 bucks. So now it's the next day, and I thought I would show you what this looks like with a full battery when you come back to it. So fully charged, 100% ready to drive, and that's good for 32 kilometers before I have to use any fuel, and a combined range right now with a full battery and an almost full tank of gas. I can go about 505 kilometers. So that means that right now, the first 32 kilometers of driving that I'm gonna do are not gonna use any fuel. And if I wanna save that charge for later, by the way, you'd use the drive mode dial here, and you would select the preserve EV mode here. And what that does is it sort of locks away that 32 kilometer charge. You can see it's gray now. So when I start driving, it's actually gonna use the gasoline engine more and save that 32 kilometers for later. And so you're completely in control of sort of when and how the system is using that battery charge or its gasoline engine just by flicking through the different drive modes. There's nothing additional for you to do other than plug in when and if you like, and as long as you've got gas in the tank, you are good to go. There's another bonus that comes from the PHEV system, and that is on-demand electric torque. The electric motor can work in sync with the gas engine, boosting its performance like a sort of electric turbocharger. So this plug-in hybrid Aviator is not only the most fuel-efficient one you can buy, but also the most powerful. Electric and gas drive combined to give you nearly 500 horsepower, and how does 630 pounds of electric on-demand torque sound? Quiet in this case. The electric motor boosting low-speed output, you'll experience loads of pulling power, hardly any sound if you can hear anything at all during gentle driving, and full throttle acceleration that'll shove occupants into their seats with plenty of force. So it's quieter, more powerful, more responsive, and more fuel efficient. Welcome to the modern age of electrification. This is technology you'll be seeing a lot more of in the coming years. I think the secret sauce here, which the Aviator shares with its big brother, the Navigator, is the way that it uses its features and its engineering and even this electric hybrid driveline to smooth everything out for you. Sophisticated suspension systems let Aviator float on a cloud. The forward camera can see pavement imperfections up the road and pre-program the suspension to smooth them out ahead of time, preparing the shocks for impact and keeping occupants more comfortable. Independent control of each wheel mitigates pothole strikes in real time by working the dampers actively to minimize impact. The suspension can lower and raise itself for aerodynamics, easier entry and exit, off-road use, and more. So it's a collection of some of the most advanced suspension tech on the road, and other than the occasional whack from certain potholes and surfaces, it's often like driving a hovercraft. And since the suspension can actively control the motion of the Aviator's body on top of it, even rough or undulating roads do little to stir those on board. Really, you can feel the effort that's gone into the fine-tuning and programming to make this thing ride like a dream. On highway drive comfort, this is pretty exemplary. You float along in peace and quiet with a smooth but very potent reserve of pulling power available when you need it. The partial electric drive smooths things out too. With that on-demand electric torque at the ready, you surge up to speed with immediate response and barely a peep or vibration from the engine room. This all makes the Aviator work really nicely as your own little sanctuary. Heck, even the lane keeping and adaptive cruise systems feel beautifully fine-tuned to look ahead and pre-calculate their next moves, so everything they do is smooth and subtle and predictable, and that means one less thing for you to think about. The central screen's big display and bright graphics translate into a great parking camera system that's highly visible and backed by radar warnings of hazards as you move about in tight quarters. There's even a voice command button right on the steering wheel, providing spoken word access to hundreds of functions without taking your eyes or hands away from the road or wheel. Elsewhere on the steering wheel, contextual backlighting changes the available controls depending on what you're trying to do, and that is another one of those delightful and unique little touches. To me, what separates the Aviator from many competitors is the overall road feel. On the one hand, if you've driven a comparable BMW or Audi or Volvo and found the ride to be too stiff and sporty, you'll probably find the Aviator to be a refreshingly comfortable and plush ride. On the other hand, it is big and heavy and soft, and while that trick suspension isn't really bothered by some quick cornering, the feel of the Aviator's controls, the brakes, the steering, and the overall response from the vehicle fail to really get the blood pumping. So if you're a sportier driver after something that feels sharp and precise at your fingertips, you do have better options. On overall feel, you can kind of think of this like a rocket-propelled Lazy Boy recliner, and you're in the right ballpark.
So let me give you a little more detail on the storage and what's around the driver here. Covered storage bin here. It's just a little GoPro camera. There's a power outlet in there as well. Covered to kind of keep that all tidy looking. Another covered slot here, 2 cup holders, and a little storage compartment there for your smaller items. Fairly generous center console here. You've got a little cubby for your keys or other smaller items in there, like your wallet maybe. Some more power as well. A little pocket here on the door, even lined with leather on the inside. Classy touch. And your standard sort of door pocket with bottle holder down here. So we'll wrap this up with 2 final notes. First, with all of that trick suspension tech, I was expecting a smoother ride on some of the very worst surfaces that I drive on, including many of Sudbury's poorly maintained secondary roads. I suppose there are limits to how much smoothing out the suspension gadgets can do, and on very rough roads and trails I was expecting a little bit more comfort. Again, these roads are very much worst case scenario.
And so what I'd recommend if you're out on a test drive of the Aviator, if you're considering one, is to make sure that you hit the roughest road that you can possibly find and check the ride quality for yourself.
And second, you'll want to be driving this as well, the Cadillac XT6. It is one of my other very favorite long-distance luxury crossovers, and if you drive it back-to-back with the Aviator, you'll notice it's not nearly as powerful, but that it does have a great highway ride and also feels a bit more dense and solid, and that ride quality stands up even better to really rough roads. Ultimately, for long-haul comfort, exemplary ride quality on virtually all surfaces, and the latest gadgets and tech, Aviator Grand Touring delivers in a serious way. Shoppers primarily concerned with watching the scenery fly by from a tranquil rolling lounge will find the best return on their investment, and with that plug-in hybrid powertrain, you might go from filling up once a week to filling up once a month or even less, and that's more time for driving. Thanks for watching.
Well, that's about it for this video. Thank you for watching. My name is Justin Pritchard, and until next time, take care and drive safe.